Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Can we just wave for a second? I want to say, hey, hello to everybody. It's so wonderful to see you all from everywhere and from all over the place. For those of you who I do not know, or I do not recognize, or you do not recognize me, I'm Helaine Sheias. And I am, just to be honest with everybody, I'm super nervous about this and I'm super excited about it because we are starting our Elul program today and we've got a great program for all of you. So welcome to everyone. Get comfortable in your seat. We've got a full packed 75 minutes to really get us rocking and rolling and really getting into the whole mindset of what we call Elul. Our sort of logo or the tagline for our program this year is pause, prayer, practice, being in the presence of Elul. Elul is the name of the Hebrew month that we are beginning tomorrow. So Chodesh Tov, wishing everyone a wonderful month of Elul. There's so much to tell about Elul. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to teach. There's so much to describe. But what we're going to try to do in this 7-week program that we are offering is to really share with you different tastes and teachings, insights, inspirations, and ahas of Elul for a wonderful group of TMI community members that came together. And I'll talk about them a little bit later. But before we sort of launch the entire program for today, I want to invite Fran Lande, who just completed the Sodot facilitator training program. She's calling in from California. She's going to sort of offer a grounding, a centering, a welcoming for all of you to sort of enter into that sacred space of the beginning of Elul, or what I sort of referred to in our prelude essay, Zman Elul. Zman in Hebrew means time. So it is the time of Elul. But Zman, or the root that we use, which is Zayin Mem Nun, also means invitation, hazmana. It also means zminut, or availability. So when we talk about Elul, we're not only talking about the time, we're talking about the invitation to be present, the invitation to pause, to enter prayer, to begin practice. And we're also talking about the availability that I create for myself and that each of you will create to really honor this time as we prepare for the high holidays. So Fran, I'm passing the microphone over to you.
Okay, so we cannot we cannot fix everything at once, for this can lead to paralysis. This year's Elul 7-week program breaks our spiritual work down into manageable and applicable weekly layers. We will move week by week through our speech, our thoughts, our relationships, and the impact that they have on our connections with ourselves and others and the divine. As we are taught in Pirkei Avot, you do not need to finish the work today. You just need to begin it. So to begin this time together, let's take some centering breaths. So get comfortable in your seat. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pause. Breathe in. Breathe out. Prayer. One more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Practice. Is this a new journey for you? Are you a seasoned practitioner? While all our intentions may be individual, we will learn, grow, and share as a community. Together, we're going to begin our Elul journey. So to launch this program, I'd like you to take a minute and write down a single word in the chat. This word represents your primary intention for the next 7 weeks. It could be a midah, like patience, setting boundaries, honesty, or it could be an action, like teshuva, return. Once you have your word, write it in the chat. Wow, people are really going for this. I love it. And Helaine and I are going to read the words that we see in the chat. So, Helaine, I'm going to have you start while I
Okay, so we have peace, focus,
grounding, prepare,
equanimity,
surrender,
hope,
equanimity,
returning,
connection,
introspection,
focus,
hope,
hold on, connect, shalom,
focus,
renewal,
intention,
menuchat hanefesh,
depth,
intimacy,
bitachon, or trust,
connecting,
shtika, or silence,
returning,
reflection,
menuchat hanefesh,
understanding,
alignment,
anava, or humility,
bitachon, trust,
presence, or hineni, I am here,
teshuvah, returning,
focus,
willingness,
grounding,
rachamim, hitlamdut, and tzedek,
so
compassion, self-reflection, and order,
presence,
centering,
tshuva, or returning,
open,
openness,
zichirut, passion,
cautiousness,
yeah,
acting locally,
equanimity,
connection,
quiet,
transformation,
hope,
hineni, I am here,
intentional focus.
and service. Wow. Thank
Wow,
you
that's a
all.
lot.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
So now what you're going to do with this is you're not going on this alone. You really are not going on this alone. We're doing this together. We're all making a collective commitment. And because as we coined this phrase in one of the trainings, we are all fellow travelers on this Elul journey. So you're going to keep this intention, this word on a paper on your desk, in your mirror, on your phone, or wherever you will be seeing it and reminded. So the Elul journey begins now. Let us step together into week 1 and embark on our journey. I'm going to return it back to Helaine.
Thank you, Fran. I want you to take the word that you wrote in the chat and just sit with it for a second. As you sit with it, pause, contemplate. Take a moment to befriend that word, whether it's hope or hineni or service or focus. And then take a moment to bring that word into prayer, to tefillah. Maybe creating your own prayer with that word. Setting that sacred intentionality for our journey, for our Elul journey, and for what Fran mentioned, that we are fellow and sister travelers. We are not journeying alone. We are journeying together. And then take that same word and think about it as a practice. What do I want to do with that word? What are my action steps? There's a word that we use in Musar called Kabbalah from Hebrew. A Kabbalah is that small, tiny step that I want to take. So if my word is hope, if my word is service, if my word is equanimity or focus, what is it that I want to do? Or connection. What is it that I want to do over these next 7 weeks to make it real? One tiny little step that I can do to help make this 7 weeks, this journey of ours, more meaningful, more significant as we plan for the high holidays, as we begin to think about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But we've got a month to do that. So let's honor this time of preparation. So just a little bit about what we're going to do in the program. We're going to have 7 weekly webinars, each webinar with a different presenter, a different teacher. And as we said before, the overall theme is pause, prayer, practice, being in the presence of Elul. Each Wednesday, you will receive an email reminder from Rivka that we are having a webinar, but you will also receive, for those of you who sign up for the entire program, you'll receive an Elul essay written by either Avi Ferdig or Alan Marinis, in which not only are there teachings about Elul and about each of the weekly topics that we have chosen, which I will share with you in a moment, but also reflection questions, practice questions, things that you can do your cheshbon nefesh with, that assessing of the soul. And for those of you who are doing Elul this year in Chavruta, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, you can share this in your Chavruta gatherings. So a little bit about the topics and where we're going. Week 1 today is how ready can I be? And we'll go there in a second. The next week is about tshuva, returning and coming home to one's inner self. Week 3 will be how do we embrace Elul. Week 4 will focus on the impact of Chavruta, the journeying together, becoming fellow journeyers. Week 5 returns us to prayer and bringing us to the moment at Rosh Hashanah. The week that follows will be on tshuva, or renewal, or return, through prayer at Yom Kippur. And then our final week, which will focus once again on practice, on conclusion, on what we call in Hebrew siyum, will be how do we take our practice beyond the new year? How do we walk everything that we have done into the year that follows? And how do we bring it in and really embrace it? So we're not only embracing Elul, but we're taking you through these 7 weeks so that we can embrace the new year that is coming to us. And we have a wonderful team of presenters. Some of them are here right now. I just want to honor who is here and to thank them for what they are presenting. Let me just get everybody back so I don't forget anyone. Rabbi Scott Nagel is going to talk about the Yom Kippur aspects. Mark Edelstein and Ken Berenbaum are going to welcome us into Chavruta. Cindy Levy is going to bring us into that place of embracing Elul. Rabbi Marcia Plum will be with us next week to start the embarking of this. Avi Fertig will be presenting us with the Rosh Hashanah webinar. And of course, Alan and Avi will be presenting the essays that you will be receiving each week. The reason that there are so many different people bringing in their passion, their wisdom, their knowledge, their ratzon, that desire to share Elul, is that we want to awaken Elul within you. So that maybe something that Cindy said, or that Fran said, or that Rabbi Scott said will resonate with you and make it more meaningful. So that for those of us who are going to attend services for Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippur, when we come to the synagogue, when we become present for what is about to occur, is that we're not coming without the preparations, that we've already sat with this, we've paused with this, we've prayed and practiced with this. So a little bit more about Elul before we dive in a little bit deeper. And this I sort of started in the prelude that we sent out to you. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 6, there's a line that represents Elul. Uma'al Hashem Elochecha et levavcha vet levav zerecha. And Hashem, your God, will open your hearts and the hearts of your children to love God with all your heart and soul in order that you may live. And if you look at the words in Hebrew, et levavcha, ve'et levav zarecha. The first letter of each of those words spells Elul. So the content of this verse alludes to what I referred to as Man Elul, that time where we gather together to release anything that is keeping us stuck in our old ideologies or ideas that need to shift, that need to change, things that are heavy on us and that we want to let go of during this sacred time. The Sha'arei Tshuva writes in the beginning of his book that God will help those who wish to do tshuva, even though they may not know how to do it on their own. God will come to them and give them what he refers to as a pure spirit, enabling them to open to the divine presence. And this is very similar to the verse that I quoted above that says, if a person first repents wholeheartedly to the best of their ability, God will open their hearts. So I invite you, as we begin this journey, to focus on the opening of your heart. What's holding you back from opening? What might be something that is interfering or blocking the openness of your heart? Elul is that calling for us to take action, can actually be seen as a summoning from God, an invitation to become closer to the divine presence in preparation for the high holy days that await us. So with this onset of Zman Elul, we, as the Jewish people, are called to stand at the threshold of our own sacred service, which we called Avodat Hashem, of tshuva. Tshuva meaning to repent, but also to mean to return to our true selves, to our genuine, our authentic selves, to coming home to our inner self, to our soul. Each of us longing to ascend to a higher, more spiritually elevated world. But here's the catch. The start of this journey, the onset, the beginning, the kickoff, as we say, can be hard and challenging for many of us because we lack that clear, structured foundation. And so only by pushing through these initial difficulties or obstacles, moving through what we refer to in Hebrew as the Meitzarim, the narrow straits, can we begin to craft a new derech, a new pathway towards tshuva. So just to sort of put into bullet points, the core themes of our Elul program from our Musar approach is radical honesty with ourselves and with others, what we refer to as cheshbon hanefesh. So we're looking at, we are observing, we are exploring our behavior over the past year, how I speak, I react, how I behave with, how I treat others without judgment, without any harshness, but to really look at that and see what I would like to change, to make different, to go towards that place of being a better self. An additional theme is working on our midot, our character traits. So instead of just making those vague resolutions that we sometimes make, we pick the specific midot, like the word you chose when Fran asked you to in the beginning, to notice them and to align daily, every day, how I want to be better. We also focus on that tshuva, inner return, returning to our true and genuine self. And finally, not only the opening of the heart, but the awakening of the heart. And we can experience this in different ways, one of them being the daily blowing of the shofar. That this acts as a psychological and spiritual alarm clock. It pierces our routine. It pierces the autopilot of our everyday. And so it allows us, it invites us, going back to Zman Elul, to take the time to reflect upon the sacred space of pause, of prayer, of practice. There's an old Yiddish saying from the old country, as my grandmother used to call it, that in the month of Elul, even the fish in the water begin to tremble because there's an intensity of this month like no other in the Hebrew calendar. One of the things we also say during Elul is that the king is in the field, that God is closer to us, and we can feel God's divine presence. That trembling, that awe, or what we refer to as yirah in Hebrew, is an awakening to Elul. That knowing that something is happening, something is going on, and it can be revealed to me. And am I open to experiencing that revelation? Or am I going to just let it pass by me and stay in my own habitual slumber? In the 14th century, one of our sages, the Maharal, recommended that throughout the days of Elul, every individual should sit down before their meals and before going to sleep and really sit with that sense of trembling. What am I examining? What am I looking at? Where am I finding those non-alignments? And what do I need to do to get back on the path? And so it's an invitation to feel the urgency of tshuva, to be aware of it, to be awakened to it. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who started the Mussar, what I call the Mussar revolutionary movement, would remember when he was a small child playing outside in his sandbox or outside in nature. His older sister would call out to him and say, "What are you doing out there? Why are you playing? It's Elul. You have to be aware of the month of Elul." And later in life, Rabbi Salanter would claim that the entire year should be like Elul, that we can come back to that place of tshuva, of opening, of aligning. So just take a moment, a breath. Where are you with Elul? What's calling you? What are you waiting to be revealed to you? And just sit with that for a moment. And I'm going to pass the microphone onto one of my fellow journeyers, to George Gabanyi, a dear, dear Musar friend, who's going to talk to us and share with us the meaningfulness of the Hebrew calendar and how it's going to have an impact and an influence on our month of Elul. George, I can't see you, but I know you're here, so you're going to have to talk it out.
Okay, I was seeing you, and you said many things that I wanted to say. First of all, thanks for inviting, and I'm talking in behalf of Mark and Ken also, because we studied together since 17th of Tammuz, and that's what I'm going to talk about the Jewish calendar. And if you allowed, and the Rivka also, Ken can put on something in 30 seconds that I will start with that. Can we do that?
Sure. If you have the video and you want to share screen, and you're welcome to do that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Rivka. Oh, I'm going to lose you too. We can't hear, Ken.
Ken, can you try again sharing the sound?
I'm sorry, I had my headphones on. Let me try again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you, but if you're going to play a video, Ken, you need to stop your screen share and then share with sound.
I have to turn this off. I'm sorry.
Bear with us, everybody.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Ken, you need to stop your screen share. Well
Thanks,
done.
Ken. We saw in two parts, one the picture and one the video and one the sound. But the main thing that when I did that is what on 17th of Tammuz, the starting of the breaking of the walls. And I have at my office this picture with the bait from Bereshit, bait from roots. And I have some masks that I brought from Africa. And I was in the mask to say that in this period of time, we need to get rid of our masks. Sometimes you have to use the social mask, the father or mother mask, the child mask, whatever mask we use. But the most important is to take off the masks that we use to hide from ourselves. And again, I'm very happy to be here. And I want to start with a poem from Rabbi Karen Kedar that is fantastic and so appropriate for this period of time. Okay. I am 1,000 sparks of light and have traveled an ancient distance of time and space. I am connected to the source. I am 1,000 sparks of light, carried upon waves of darkness, chaotic void. I am information, and every day I am invited to listen for my calling, to be and to do, and to create, and to love, and to forgive, and to remember that I have traveled a great distance to be called to say yes to life. There's a poem that Mark shared with me yesterday, and I thought it's very appropriate to start talking about that. And the Jewish calendar for me nowadays is a guide of life. Let's see. We have two big moments in the Jewish calendar. In each semester we have one. In the first semester we have Pesach, the counting of the Omer like stars going up until Shavuot, from physical freedom to spiritual freedom. And in the second semester, we have 23 days from Rosh Hashanah to Simchat Torah that all rabbis are exhausted at the end of these days, and that we go deeper and deeper to start our spiritual journey once again. But the journey of Elul began approximately 6 weeks ago on the 17th of Tammuz. It was the day that the walls of Jerusalem were crashed. And 3 weeks later, on 9th of Av, the legend says that the temples were destroyed, the first and the second. On that day, we remember the many losses that happened to our people over time. We mourn that day and something new, and the Shiva week starts on Tisha B'Av and ends exactly on Tu B'Av, the day of love, when you arise from sitting Shiva and go on life through love. We arise from the morning period with increased awareness of our challenges, traumas, and scars. This is the sequence of events as is led in the Jewish calendar. The 17th of Tammuz not only signifies the cracks in the walls of Jerusalem, but most importantly, it reminds us that it's time to look at the cracks that are emerging in our own lives. I want to share with you a metaphor that I really love. It's like we 5786. In 2 days, we start the next 30 days to be in this train. When you are going to be at the stop of this train, immediately we enter in the train of 5787. Okay, but you have to pay attention because we can't carry the luggage that we have been carrying since then. We have to let some luggage at the station. And we have to focus on all the luggage that we have and carry with us only the fundamental, the priority, the most important luggage that we can carry with us. Because that's what is important in our life, not the other luggage that we let in the station. And we have to open space because we are going to acquire other things in the train of 5787. Wow, yes. We are now in the time of our sacred calendar doing the introspective work of not only increasing awareness of the cracks that are emerging in our own lives, but in the world which we are now living. We have to pay attention for this moment because our lives changed completely after October 7, 3 years ago. We are not the same, the world is not the same, and unfortunately, the anti-Semitism is the same. So we have to be able to confront that also. It is time to begin to remove the obstacles and challenges that are keeping us from connecting more deeply to our souls. In 2 days, our journey will take us to the month of Elul, when our sages say, as Helaine said just now, God is in the field. And I love to imagine myself going to the park, sitting on one bench, and start talking with God, opening my heart and my soul, and I'm sure that he or she or it is listening to me. And it's a moment of this, more connection, more intimacy with the source of life. It's time, that's very important, to go deeper, to confront ourselves with what is covered by dust in the deepest side of our soul. It's the time to confront with what is hidden in the deepest side of our soul, covered by dust. We know that's there, but we have to have courage to go deeper. And one thing, all the many words that Fran and Elaine, they read from what we wrote, everybody, one missed. That's attentive listening. And attentive listening, the small voice that has been trying to talk with us from the deepest side of our soul. So attentive listening is fundamental here. It is our hope that as we journey forward through the sacred time, we will be able to more deeply engage in the power and the purpose of this year high holiday season. As is written in the Talmud, find a friend. If you don't have one, acquire one. But I think that all of us here in the TMI community have more than one friend. I highly recommend, choose a spiritual companion and join with him or her the spirit of intense introspection. Now, propaganda. The Elul program of TMI will help us on this journey. Simchat Torah this year, and every year, of course, is the end of a cycle of studying Torah. And immediately begins again the same cycle again. I love this circle. Whenever you finish, we start again. When you read the same words of Bereshit again, the words are the same, but we are a new person, not the same as 1 year ago. And one moment very important. This year, Simchat Torah falls on October 4th, a Sunday. 3 years ago, it fell on October 7th, Shabbat. Let's dance again. Not only the Torah, but let's dance again to honor the more than 1,200 people killed at that day. Where is that? Blowing the shofar every day of this month of Elul, the blessing is to listen, not to blow the shofar. It's Shomea Kol Shofar. Okay, this is real, and with the work we are doing, we will be less unprepared for the Yamim Noraim, and better prepared for the year to come. And we will be able to answer the most important question that we can ask in our life. For what do I want to be inscribed in the book of life in 5787? And with that, Kenny Rasson, and again, thanks a lot for opening this space. And thanks again, Ken, Mark, Rivka, and Elaine, of course. Wow, that was great.
Thank you, George. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for reminding us. Thank you for the teachings, for the continuation, the circle of life as you presented us to us through the Hebrew calendar. So we're going to send you to breakout rooms. You're going to have triads in your breakout rooms to give you that opportunity to experience a little bit of being fellow journeyers on the path, to sort of trying out a first taste of what we're calling Hevruta. And there's many things that you can talk about, but I think one of the, and George brought this up, not only blowing the shofar, but showing us in the beginning, he had a mask on. I don't know if you noticed that. And our question as you enter into the breakouts is, what is the mask, or what are the masks that you are removing as you enter this holy month of Elul? And who do you want to become without that mask? Another thing that I think is important to look at in your breakout is, and George mentioned these, what are the cracks in your life? What are the things we have to dust off? What are the things that are going to allow your soul to shine as we begin to come closer to what he referred to as the Yamim HaNoraim. Yamim Noraim are the days of awe. They're the days of Yir'ah. So there's, as we look at awe, as we look at Yir'ah, there can be that sense of fear, that trembling that I talked about before. But there can also be that sense of awe, of wonderment. So what does that mean for you? The awe, the Yir'ah, the days, the Yamim HaNoraim. And the final thing, if you still have enough time, the whole concept of being inscribed in the book of life. What does that mean for you from your own Musar perspective? Sefer HaChaim, the book of what life means to you. So Rivka's going to put you into your triads, into breakouts. We'll be there for high minutes, for 18 minutes. Thank you, Rivka, for the posting the questions in the chat. Be open. Be kind. Bring in chesed and curiosity. And if you're doing this for the first time, we are all first-time learners. If you're doing this for your 100th time, bring that curiosity, that openness, that wonderment in with you. And we'll see you back in about 18 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. So nice to see everyone back on the screen. We hope you had a meaningful conversation in your breakouts and that you actually started that Elul journey in Chavruta or in Triad Chavruta. I want to thank Fran and George again for their wonderful contribution to this opening Elul webinar. And before we sort of bring this to a closure, just want to go back to something from Pirkei Avot. And we read in the first chapter of Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, line 14. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And I bring this in because one of the messages that we're getting from Elul is that we need to stop waiting for someone to tell you what to change and what to do. During the month of Elul, we're responsible for ourselves. It is up to us to do the necessary introspection, to find that time and space to get into connection with ourselves, and to determine what we need to and want to work on. And to remember in a very kind and loving and caring way that no one else will help us grow unless we take the responsibility for ourselves. Yes, our teachers, our masters, our sages can give us the greatest tools in the world for self-transformation. But if we leave those tools on the bench and we don't take our own responsibility, then nothing will change. So I want to end or bring this to a closing by sharing a poem called Barriers from Alden Solovoy's book, These Words. There is no barrier, no gate, no fence, no blockade that can keep you away from God, that can bar your return to your natural human state of righteousness and dignity. Save the barriers that you place in your own way and return home to yourself. Even if you've never been there, even if you've never met you, even if you feel like a stranger to yourself, return home. Teshuvah. In the Babylonian Talmud, what's called Brachot 16b to 17a, there's a quote that says, "May it be your will that you place us in a lit corner and not in a darkened corner, and that you do not let our hearts become faint, nor our eyes dim." And then they quote Rabbi Elazar, who would say, "May we rise early and find the aspiration of our opened hearts." Thank you for being with us today, for opening your hearts, for saying yes to embarking upon the journey of Elul, for taking the time to pause, to pray, to practice. Thank you again to Fran for being my sister journeyer. Thank you to George for being my fellow, my brother journeyer. And thank you to Rivka for everything behind the scenes, that without her, none of this would happen. I'm going to leave the last moments to Rivka just to update you on what we call a little bit of housekeeping. Rivka?
Thank you. Thank you, Helaine. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It was so lovely. I love when we come off breakouts and everyone has to have come off their camera muting in order to speak in small groups. You get to see more faces. I really love that. So it's great to see everyone here. If you only signed up for the free week, you will receive one more email from me with the recording. Feel free to share this recording with a friend or family member. It will be available for a few weeks before we move the link to a private site. So you'll get the recording. There was a request, Helaine, for Alden's poem to be shared. We'll get that from Helaine and we'll share that with everybody. Also George's shofar blowing video and a few other items. And then, you know, if you feel like this was it for you, we wish you a very happy, meaningful Elul season and a refreshing and happy new year. If you are part of our Chaverim program, if you're a Chaverim member and you have enrolled in the 7-week Elul program, by the end of the week, we will put you on the Makor course site where you will find all recordings, the Zoom link, all essays. We are rolling things out week by week. You will not be able to read essays ahead of time. That's to keep you focused on each week's topic. But you'll always be able to go back to that in perpetuity to view these materials as long as you wish. If you have any questions at all, info@musarinstitute.org is the place to be. And Diane and I will be happy to support you in any way that you need. And with that, we wish you a happy Wednesday afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Helaine. Thank you, Rivka.
It was